Buster Blader topped again? I've seen one video on this deck. Why are people unironically bringing Prankid to events, but I can't find a shred of evidence that Buster Blader even exists?
Is someone talking about Buster Blader?
Yes. Why?
I'm with the Buster Blader Defense Force. We can't have people figuring out this deck. Get him!
Ah! 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 Fuck. Good afternoon, Jank enthusiasts. I'm MBT, and this is 10-minute testing. Well, it looks like the new metagame is in full swing, featuring a deck that makes VFD, and a bunch of decks that lose to the deck that makes VFD. What I haven't seen much noise about, however, is a deck that absolutely can hang with the big boys, has a non-zero amount of tops, and yet receives no attention whatsoever. I'm talking about, and I'm being completely serious here, Buster Blader. Before we begin, real sorry about this, Konami decided they weren't going to inform anyone the specifics of their remote duel tournament until literally 2 days before it, so it's the exact same date and time as the Quarantine series. Obviously, I don't want to split the base, and I don't want fans to miss out on one of the very few opportunities for paper play, so I'm going to postpone YCS 11 until next weekend, November 29th. Apologies. So here's the list, and yeah, that's a ton of room we've got. Realistically, you could probably get away with splashing any number of additional archetypes in here, but we're going to keep it simple. As always, I'll give you a background about the archetype, a little bit of a discussion about what I hope the deck can do, and of course, the card by card. But first, this video is sponsored by Yu-Gi-Oh! Pro Deck. Yu-Gi-Oh! Pro Deck is an online strategy site for our mutual favorite card game. It's got a deck builder, card database, and a wealth of strategy articles. It's also where I post the Quarantine series deck breakdowns, so give it a look at www.ygoprodeck.com. So with that, let's bust into Buster Blader. Buster Blader is one of those archetypes. It was touched by the golden goose that is Yu-Gi-Moto, so it's destined to be endlessly retrained until an entire realized archetype has been invented for, well, essentially a vanilla. You may recognize this strategy from Dark Magician, Gaia the Fierce Knight, Summon Skull, Blackluster Soldier, Celtic Guardian. They even printed Giant Soldier of Stone support. Unlike all of those archetypes, however, the Blader cards are actually good. Dragon Whelp is a Stratos for the archetype, which usually searches Prologue, which sends the necessary material for memories as cost. The end result of this simple one-card setup is a Buster Dragon, which switches all of your opponent's monsters to dragons, and a Dragon Destructor, which switches all dragons to defense position and prevents their effects from being activated. Think of it as a VFD that doesn't rend your soul from your body when you summon it. What's more, since both summons are conducted via trap cards, it's a perfect pair for Dogmatica. Sure, you're locked from the extra deck on your turn, but by the time you can flip traps, you're back online. We're playing a huge Dogmatica package alongside some of the format's most powerful control traps and a trap trick package. There's also incidental synergy. The only difficult part of fulfilling Memory's effect is getting a dragon into the graveyard, and guess what type Titanclad is? He truly is a bastard. Finally, in the most hilarious interaction the deck contains, you can use Fleur to negate Grape Blader's effect and attack directly despite his condition. So with that, let's get into the card by card. Firstly, the monsters. 3 Ecclesia, 2 Fleur-de-Lis, 3 Buster Whelp, 2 Big Blader, 3 Nibiru, and 3 Ash Blossom. For spells, we're on 3 Nadir, 3 Disparity, though for the time being this can be whatever you like, and an Upstart. Tell me not to play Upstart in the same deck as Disparity all you like, I will not read your comments. For traps, we're on 3 Prologue, 2 Memories, 3 Trap Trick, 3 Infip, and 2 ofs of Ice Dragon, Dynamicious, and Punishment. In the extra, we're on 2 Big Ol' Blader, Titanclad, Entis, Hot Red Dragon Archfiend Abyss, Omega, 2 Buster Dragon, BLS, Unicorn, Whelp, Linkaribo, Almirage, Anima, and 5-headed for big boys. So with that, let's jump into the games. Our first match is up against Ancient Warrior. God, I feel bad for Ancient Warrior. I never took a second look at this archetype, though given what my opponent's playing, maybe that's for the best. We're going first, and we're going to lead with a copy of Pot of Disparity. We're going to find off the top... Wow, just everything. I guess we'll take a Disciple of the Nadir. We'll activate that to send a copy of Titanclad to the graveyard, fulfilling the condition on Prologue, should we ever get there, and then activate the effect of Ecclesia in order to get a punishment to hand. At end step, we'll activate Titanclad's effect in order to get a Fleur-de-Lis and wish our opponent good luck. They draw off the top. God, I'm gonna mess this up. Zujkong? We'll negate Chunky Kong's effect, and they'll chain it in response to our infinite impermanence. They'll activate the graveyard effect of Southeast Wind, and then special summon a Zoo King Alpha. I'm in no hurry to flip up the traps. I mean, putting Ecclesia back is a net good for me. They'll proceed to the battle phase, and okay, it's Prologue time. We'll activate Prologue, then chain the effect of Memories in Graveyard, banishing Titanclad and Buster Blader for both halves of our combo. They'll activate Dark Ruler no more, but without the battle phase, they accomplish very little. We draw for turn, and this should be the end of the game, especially with that rip. We'll activate a second Adir, setting an Entist to the graveyard, who we will activate to destroy this copy of Zoo King Alpha. We'll normal summon a copy of Ecclesia and activate her effect to get a punishment to hand before special summoning a copy of Ecclesia as well as a copy of Fleur-de-Lis, negating our opponent's remaining monster. We'll switch everything to attack position and pierce over for 18, getting in for 3,000, 2,000, and lethal off of Buster Dragon. So it's time for game 2, and our opponent is playing Drytron. Listen, this might be a bit of a bigoted statement, it might be a little problematic, but I will literally never read these cards and you cannot make me. Let's see what our opponent sets up on the play, I suppose. They're going to lead with a copy of Delta, which they will draw into Cyber Emergency afterwards. They'll activate the effect of Zeta, and then activate the graveyard effect of Alpha, which enables them to ritual summon a copy of Amorphactor Pain? Okay, well, this skips our main phase 1, but no big deal. At end of main, we'll just activate Nibiru's effect, walk over the token, and functionally win from there. For turn, we draw a copy of Prologue. Fantastic. Now we have Buster Blader as well. They'll activate Thunder of Ruler, and... oh my god! Oh my god! So Amorphactor Pain necessarily makes you decide between going to battle phase or end phase after you've missed your main phase 1. If you can't go to battle phase, it skips your turn! Thankfully, our opponent has no follow-up, so it's not going to matter. We'll fire off a Disciples of the Nadir that we top deck, nice by the way, before setting 4, normal summoning a copy of Ecclesia, and getting a Fleur-de-Lis at end step. We still should be able to take this quite easily, especially with our opponent's draws. We'll activate Prologue as early as possible, then chain Destruction Sword Memories to get both halves of our big combo, at which point our opponent will pass back to us. Okay, just a matter of assembling lethal from here. We'll lead with a copy of Pot of Disparity. We're kind of getting light in the extra deck. I go for 3 because I'm greedy, and we are rewarded for it. We get the Disciple of the Nadir, we'll fire it off, sending an Entist to the graveyard and clearing our opponent's field. Afterwards, we're going to normal summon a copy of Ecclesia and activate her effect. They activate Gamma, no big deal. Both of these monsters have 0 defense, and we have piercing. We'll activate Fleur-de-Lis's effect, and then proceed to the battle phase. We'll walk over this copy of Driver, then activate Dynamicious on this Gamma. Oh, we should have done that in the opposite order. Activating the effect of Fleur-de-Lis enables our opponent to activate the second Gamma as well. We're going to lose our Buster Dragon, so their effects are still online, but realistically, what are they going to do with 2 cards in hand? Okay, well, make that 3 cards in hand. They'll go from Delta into Alpha. There's no way, right? They'll activate their ritual spell to go into DNA. We'll activate Punishment. They'll link Haribo in response, fading the punishment. We'll activate Trap Trick. We'll just get a machine from the graveyard and then banish their machine. At which point I realize their monsters can't be special summoned. Oh, Illiteracy, my old nemesis, coming home to roost. They'll proceed to the battle phase, walking over our field with an Anima in main phase 2. I mean... did we lose this game? For turn, we draw a copy of Buster Whelp. We'll normal summon it and activate its effect. Our opponent chains the effect of their ritual monster, destroying our entire field. We get a Memories to hand. I cannot believe that we lost this. Well, that was embarrassing. Remember to stay in school, kids. So it's time for game 3, and you know what that means, a best of 3 versus meta. Our opponent's playing Zoodiac. That's right, Zoodiac is meta again, apparently, and we are going first. We're going to lead with a copy of Pot of Disparity, to which our opponent chains a Dimension Shifter. That's actually quite bad for us. We need to get a dragon into the graveyard for this prologue to be live, so as a result we're forced to take the Ecclesia here, searching a copy of Fleur-de-Lis. Can't even get punishment without access to the graveyard. Okay, we'll pass back to our opponent who draws an Ash for turn. They'll lead with a copy of Ram Ram, going into Hammer Kong, going into Trident. They'll trigger the effect of Trident. This is probably as good a time as any to fire off the Fleur-de-Lis, at which point they will go even further into their extra, from Chakanine to Tiger Mortar to Borbo into Vespinate, at which point we'll fire off Nibiru. Well, this isn't fantastic. The token is extremely large, and we have no convincing out to it, but we did get to banish pretty much every Zoodiac in our opponent's extra. We draw a Fleur-de-Lis off the top, come on, and they'll switch the token to attack position and get in for 35. For turn, we draw something, please. Dynamicious answers the immediate threat, but doesn't really advance our board state like something like a Zoodiac Barrage would. They'll go from Barrage into Ram Ram, into Tiger Mortar, into Chakanine, into Borbo, and I am really kicking myself for not ashing at this position. They're going to bring back our Nibiru and try and get in a cheeky lethal. We'll fire off a Dynamicious in order to banish the token, but they do get in for 400 with Borbo, which means we're going to have to contend with Zeus this game. For turn, we draw a Disciple. Fantastic, we'll fire it off, only to run face first into an Ash Ash Blossom. See, that's how you interrupt your opponent. We'll get a Dynamicious from Graveyard on activation of Prologue. We just have to stay alive here. We'll activate Buster Dragon's effect in order to bring back Buster Blader. It's not fantastic, but we're not technically dead. They'll go to battle phase, walking over the Buster Dragon, and then pass back to us, setting a copy of Forbidden Droplet. Another Dynamicious. God, come on. The point of playing 2 of these cards is we don't want to draw them. They're going to normal summon a copy of Ram and walk over the Dynamicious, walking over our copy of Buster Blader. Oh, I guess it's not a Destruction Sword card, huh? And then directly with Nibiru. We're at 700, we draw Prologue, we'll activate Memories' effect to get out Big Buster Boy and get in for 2400, but they'll activate Zeus's effect, and we are just dead to that activation, aren't we? They'll activate Zeus, we'll infip, and fun fact, this is not a once per turn. They'll eat the board, and I know our goose is cooked. They'll activate Pot of Avarice, I've seen enough. So it's time for game 2, and oh my god, we almost have a full house. Our opponent's grip looks immaculate, but Trap Trick is a hell of a card. We're going to set 3 and pass back to our opponent. They draw a copy of Whiptail for turn, they'll activate Ratpier's effect. In another format, I might have ashed this, but I'm not particularly afraid of Megaclops anymore. We'll activate Punishment on this copy of Chakanine, and thank god we held the Ash because we can use it against this Pot of Desires. Now, they do have the Monster Reborn to bring back a Ram, and they go into Tire Mortar, into Hammer Kong, into, oh, Vespinate, that's not a Beast Warrior. We'll Trap Trick for a copy of Dynamicious, and we can target that one. We'll go ahead and banish it, and wow, we got through this turn Zeus free. We'll bring out a copy of Ecclesia at end step via Titanclad's effect and then activate her effect to get a Fleur-de-Lis to hand. Things are looking up. We draw an Infip, which is not fantastic, but we do have a Trap Trick already set. We'll activate Trap Trick's effect to get a Prologue. Now, we can't activate Prologue just yet because we're still under punishment, but we should be able to in our opponent's draw phase. We'll fire it off then in order to get the Grape Blader and Buster Dragon. Our opponent drew an Ash for turn, but oh, we send for cost. Our opponent will pass back to us, and this should be a hop, skip, and a jump to lethal. We'll fire off a Pot of Disparity. They'll activate Ash Blossom. Ooh, too little, too late. And we'll summon a copy of Fleur-de-Lis, negating our own monster's effect so it can actually attack directly. We'll get in for 3000 via the effect of Fleur-de-Lis, direct for 12 with Dynamicious, and for lethal with Big Grape Boy. So it's time for that all-important Game 3, and Jesus, you ever open 4 hand traps? This isn't going to be pretty. We'll pass it back to our opponent who draws Dimension Shifter as the 6th card. Well, that would be more devastating if I had anything to do. They'll go into Chakanine, into Borbo, and unfortunately have done this in 4 summons. They'll get in directly for 16 and then go into Zeus. I activate Nibiru, they activate Zeus, I activate Infip. God, not once per turn, I keep forgetting that. Okay, they get a sick 3-for-1, we give them a token, and I don't really want to allow them to engineer a scenario where they can get the rock off our side of the field and potentially OTK with it over the course of a couple of turns, so I just crash. We'll pass back to our opponent, who thankfully isn't drawing any of their linear combo starters either. Okay, well, pass again. They draw another Ash Blossom. God, the 2 of us are the least lucky individuals I've ever seen. Okay, a punishment puts our entire setup online, and our opponent has the Cosmic Cyclone. I know that set card has to be a hand trap. I mean, what would this deck set? They draw a Tanky, we'll Ash it. I feel pretty confident they don't have a Zoo in hand, they've just been slow rolling for 5 turns. We draw Ice Dragons, which might come in handy later, and finally they find a Ram. God, that's the worst one too. They'll go into Dryden and pass. I guess it makes sense that they're being tempered, given they haven't seen any of the cards in my hand. They can expect them to be hand traps, but they're actually just garnets. We'll special summon a copy of Fleur-de-Lis and attack into this copy of Drident. They'll chain the effect of Drident. I was expecting to have to Ice Dragons here, but they actually detach the Ram, so I can target it with infinite impermanence. We'll pass back turn, and things are looking up all of a sudden. Ooh, an Avarice off the top. Well, if I had actually activated Ice Prisons, that would be devastating, but as is, I can fizzle the Avarice by taking one of the targets. They'll go into Zoo King Alpha afterwards, and now I know I have to worry about that. They'll special summon it and ram into my copy of Fleur-de-Lis. For turn, we draw... oh my god, Nibiru. Passing back to our opponent once again, who finally draws a Tanky. This is likely the end of the game. They're going to get a copy of Ratpier, and... wait a minute, Ratpier? Are they going into the Megaclops line? This is the only way in which we win because it takes 5 summons. It'll destroy their copy of Ram, getting back this copy of Chakanine, and yeah, let's fire off the Nibiru! A 0 attack token for you, my friend! They'll special summon this copy of Zoo King Alpha and make a Halka Fibrax. Oh, dang it. They're going to get a copy of Ash Blossom from deck to go into an Access Code Talker. They'll activate Access Code's effect and then get in for 43. We've got exactly 1 turn to figure this thing out. For turn, we draw a copy of... oh, that might do it. Okay, we're going to banish 6 cards from our extra deck. We're leaving Titanclad and both halves of the Buster combo. We find off the top. Yes, that'll do it! Yes, and a deer! It's in the last 3 cards, too. We had to banish 6. We'll send the Titanclad and then special summon a copy of Ecclesia. We'll activate Ecclesia's effect in order to get the remaining copy of Fleur-de-Lis out of the deck. We'll special summon the Fleur-de-Lis, negate the effect of the access code, and get over it! Okay, there's still a ton of scenarios in which we lose. Our opponent has to fade exactly 1 draw step. Anything not proactive... Oh my god, we did it! We did it! So we're back with the deck and... wow. Well, I don't know where Zodiac will shake out in the coming weeks, but if it's anywhere near tiered, this looks pretty good. Let's do the pros and cons. First, the pros. 1. The deck is strong. It's consistent, its power play is broken as hell, it's hard to interrupt, and it kills pretty much immediately. 2. Dogmatica has this general problem where no one can really figure out where you're supposed to play it. Like, does it go in Lich, or Zoo, or Invoked? This is a shell that actually seems to shore up its weaknesses by giving it a capacity to OTK, rather than compound them, like Invoked tends to do. And 3, God, disparity is so good here. I hope we get it soon and that it's not $1 million. And the cons. 1, it's very, very reliant on actually finding the Buster Blader stuff. Otherwise, you're just playing a Dogmatica deck with about 12 bricks. 2, draws can really punish your lines. Maybe you sent an Entis to pop something, but you really needed a Titanclad for Blader fodder. You've got to be thinking about the top of your deck at all times. And 3, it lacks the explosivity of other decks. Whereas Dragonlink or Infernoble can just take over the game, a lot has to go right for about 2 turns straight here. All in all, it's an extremely good deck, honestly a serious meta contender, and I wish people would consider it. So that's that. As always, thanks to my patrons, Dominic Ernst, Hakuo, Alex Perea, Candyman, Chibi Gohan, Crispy, Dimsum05, Frosty, James Oakes, King Magic Ruler, Lavender Lemonade, Mike Carlotti, Rocky Hernandez, Rose Lapine, Sir Tachyon, Space Dandy 1993, Tyler Slacks, Tyrese Biggums IV, Adam Trevino, Adrian Bra, Amid Elefandi, Algis Marcin Kavicius, Andrew Benson, Andrew Furubia, Andrew Horseman Linderman, Angry Bread, Apex Systems, Billy Williams, Blake Root, Black Candide, Chad Bortz, Chess Prime, Tropes Away, CG Alex, Control for the Win, Dan the Man Hoban, Darcy Taves, Dylan Conley, Dive Missile, Donnie Phillip, Distrin, Emperor Stove, Ernesto Ibarra, Fighting Fanglong, FUTR, Gavin Charlie Kowski, Gil Gables, Intercrest, Isaac Jackson, Jane Linya, Jared Lorman, Jason Leonard, Jeff Leonard, Jose Luis Cortez, Juliet Chulian, Corey Hess, Kurukaze, Lawrence, Lucas Gudis, Lucky Number 5, Lucas Arizo Hansen, Mac the Moderate, Meadow Edits, Mezzo Emrys, Michael Oskavark, Miyuna Arashi, Nick Extreme 99, Nick Dolores, Picnic Blasted, Pro FP2, Pro Yugi Dad, Samsoon, Safik Ashley, Seeker, Sean Deal, Second, Shine 55, Standards Objective, Swinkles, This Machine 237, TJ Steakhouse, Yuri's Best, Zach Janchuski, Zach McKee, and Yukie. If you like what you see, please consider subscribing. And if you want to be part of the process, consider following me on Twitch as well. See you next time.